Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. Languages are fundamental. How to make exploring cultures fun, real, and eye opening. So, today's webinar is part of our ongoing collaboration with Central States Languages for All, inspired by the 2026 conference theme Languages are Fundamental. We're proud to work together to celebrate innovative, human centered, and culturally rich practices in our classrooms. And to help us officially open today's event, I'm excited to welcome Josh Legrev, Coordinator of Digital Media and Marketing at Central States. Josh, thank you for joining us. I'll turn it over for you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Josh LeGrave, and I am the coordinator of digital media and marketing for Central States. We are so glad you could join us for our continued collaboration with CLET World Languages on this great series of webinars around languages are fundamental. If you enjoy what you see tonight, make sure to plan to continue the conversation with us in March at our conference at the Palmer House Hotel in Chicago, March 12th through the 14th, 2026. We hope to see you there. Registration is already open. Simply go to centralstatesconference.org for more information. And while you're there, you can check out links to the past CLET webinars, as well as other resources and informations from your regional organization. Once again, thank you all for being here, and I can't wait to see what Diego has for us tonight.
Well, thank you so much, Josh. Thank you, Central States and CLET World Languages. And everyone, welcome on a cold Thursday night. I was talking to Josh, and he was telling me that he got a foot of snow yesterday or the day before. And it's just amazing because here in Kentucky, when we get 2 or 3 inches, we close the school, but they wait for the foot of snow to close their schools. So the reality is that we're here. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today to talk about culture, to talk about cultures. So I'm truly glad that you are all here. And today we won't treat culture as a list of celebration, dishes, and products, which is what I pretty much learned in college when I was training to be a teacher. That was like the cultural aspect of your class. But things have changed, and today we're going to go deeper. Today we're going to see culture pretty much as a human experience. And for those who have been in past webinars with Central States and CLET World Languages and myself, you know that human component is key for anything that we do in our classes. So that human experience that students live every day in our classes. So let's pay attention to that. What they live every day in our classes. Sometimes when we thought about culture, we thought about that thing that wasn't really connected to our students at that particular moment. It was kind of like something outside, you know. But today we're going to see how to help our students actually live culture in the classroom. So we'll rethink what culture really means in today's presentation. We're going to move from multicultural to intercultural thinking, and we're going to see what the differences are. We're going to explore some engaging activities that I hope that you can take to your classes next week before the holidays. And we're going to reflect on a modern way to teach this in our world language classes and to reflect on what culture really is. So let's get then intercultural activities students love and humanizing culture through stories and empathy and modern language learning realities and finish with your intercultural next steps. I wanted to let you know that today I have prepared a presentation that is going to be, and I hope is going to be very interactive. We're going to interact in the chat because when we talk about culture, it's very important that we reflect on what we're saying. Okay, so let's get started with the first question. So going back to the agenda, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The question is, which section of the agenda are you most excited about? You can type the number from 1 to 6. I'll show you the agenda again. So from this agenda, what point of the agenda are you most excited to talk about? Okay, so let me see. Okay, so you guys are talking about 3, 4, very popular, 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 3 and 4. Someone said 34, which I'm assuming is 3 and 4. 3, 3, 3. 2 and 3. Okay, there's a 2. Yay. Okay, 3, 5. Interesting. Okay, 2, another 2, another vote for 5. Excellent. Okay, perfect. So there's a lot of 3s, 4s, and also 5s and 2s, which is great because it almost covers the whole webinar. Excellent. So let's start with rethinking what culture really is. So we're going to talk about redefining what culture is. Okay, this is going to sound weird because when we talk about culture now these days and in classes like the AP class, we are asked to talk about products, practices, and perspectives, and which is great. But this is becoming kind of like the traditional way of approaching culture, where today we're going to talk about how to approach culture in an intercultural way, not precisely with the 3 Ps: products, practices, and perspectives. We often inherit the idea that culture is food, holidays, dances, historical facts. It's useful, yes, but it's very incomplete. We need to remember that culture, most of all, is identity. That culture, besides being identity, is emotion. That culture, besides being identity and emotion, it's also behavior. That culture, besides being identity, emotion, behavior, is also tone and intention and relationships. So look at these things. These are pretty human things, right? Emotion, identity, behavior, tone, intention, relationships. Like in the way we greet someone, that's culture. How do we greet people, right? Um, I am a Spanish teacher. I'm originally from Colombia. And one of the ways we greet people is, hey, ¿qué pasa? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo va todo? ¿Sí? And when I came to the United States and I obviously tried to translate what I was thinking to English, and I asked someone, how's everything going? That person looked at me like, what? Why is this guy who I don't know asking me how things are going? How things are going? Of course, I was thinking in my own language, but it's not only a language thing, it's a cultural thing. See? So it's in the way we greet, it's in the way we love. Cultures love in different ways. And that doesn't mean that some cultures love more than other cultures. It's just different. Sometimes you hear comments like in social media, some kind of influencer goes to another culture and in a very surprised way, they say, well, in this country, they don't kiss in the mouth. I guess they don't know what really love is or real love is. Okay, this influencer has not heard about cultures and how cultures work, of course. Culture is in the way we argue, in the way we love, but also in the way we argue, in the way we move through the world. So let's keep in mind this thing. So, my favorite definition of culture is cultura soy yo. Cultura soy yo. That means, in Spanish and English, means I am culture. Culture, it's me. Culture, it's me. So, in that sense, each individual will carry their own culture. So, yes, I'm from Colombia, but that doesn't mean that my culture is exactly the same as the rest of the 56 million of Colombians. Same thing for the United States. And we're going to talk about stereotypes. This is where stereotypes come from, where we try to just, make everyone the same. So, culture, remember, begins with the human, with the person, with their story, not with their stereotype. Cultura soy yo. Culture is me. Okay? All right. So, this webinar is sponsored by CLED World Languages. And there's a Spanish program, which is also a program for French and German, that is called Reporteros, reporters. I use reporters or Reporteros 3 in my instruction. So when we talk about culture, I really like the approach that Reporteros has to culture because it tries to give my students different views. What kind of things are young people in Mexico concerned about? And then I do a survey to my students on these things, and I want to see if they have the same concerns. Like, for example, in Mexico, the young people, the highest concern is about the environment. And I think that that was one of the lowest things that score in my classes, the environment. And the thing that they are not as concerned, they are still concerned about 46.9% are concerned about the equality between men and women. And this one score more in my classes. But this is a very good way to start talking about culture, cultures, how we see things in different ways, why some people in some country are more concerned about the environment than other people in other countries. If you see the third place here in this survey says escasez de empleo, lack of employment. Well, I work in a school where I don't think the kids even think about these issues. It's not a public school, it's an independent school. Maybe if I do this survey in a different type of school here in the United States, that's going to change. That's where we see that culture is pretty individual, right? There's another section here in the Reporteros 3 about exchange students and the reasons that they had to go in an exchange program. So sometimes our students only have one view. Okay, well, yeah, it would be cool to go in exchange to Spain because I'm going to learn more Spanish. But there are many other reasons why you should be going in an exchange program. And these are things that are going to help you understand better, not just yourself, but others. So, like, for example, they say you live in a very independent way when you go in an exchange program. You create new ties with different people, international contacts. You can learn another language, of course. You can learn about the other culture. You could learn more about yourself. So these kind of activities that the Reporteros book has, I think are very important to bring to our classes. Now, interaction here, my friends. In the chat, please give me one word that describes your personal culture, your personal culture, not your nationality. Okay? So give me one word in the chat that describes your personal culture. Okay? One word. Okay, this is so interesting. Okay, let's see. Your personal culture, not your nationality. Okay, someone says chévere. Bueno, eres una persona chévere. Chévere means cool. Minnesota, nice. Okay. Vibrant, nice. Family, kindness. Multicultural, okay. Cariñosa, lovely. Music, tradición, tradition, helpful, respect, giving. Pura vida, Costa Rica. Tropical, family, direct, dynamic. Perfecta. Oh, I'm gonna stop here. Perfecta. Okay. So we need to help our students think about their personal culture and start understanding that it is very important to know who we are, what my personal culture is. Culture is dynamic, culture is evolving constantly. What your grandparents call normal may not exist anymore today. Might not be in the textbook. And yes, it is really hard for editors to stay current in the textbooks because this is dynamic. This keeps changing. I don't think there's any book out there with the 6, 7 famous number 67 that we know everyone is talking about. That's pretty difficult, right? Um, so family roles also change. Family roles are part of our culture. Youth identity changes. How do they feel or how do we see youth? Social media changes. What was the social media for you when you were their age? Pretty different from what it is today, right? Economics and migration changes constantly. So if we teach culture as something that is frozen in time, we lose the opportunity to show how human and alive truly culture is. I'm going to repeat that. If we teach culture as something frozen in time, we lose the opportunity to show how human and alive it truly is. That is why we cannot just think that we're teaching culture when we're referring to things in the past, right? Okay, so static versus dynamic. So changing the language in the class. They do this or that in that culture versus what's, what does doing this mean? And I'm going to give you some examples later on. Okay? All right. So remember, culture is dynamic. Now, in the chat, share one cultural practice you've seen change in your lifetime. Share one cultural practice you've seen change in your lifetime. Okay. This is so interesting. Okay, here we go. Communication, okay. Dating, of course, dating, yes. Saludar de mano, shaking hands, texting. Or remember when each uh, when in the phone you have to memorize like the numbers for each letter or something like that. It was so awkward with the Nokia phones. Um, how we dress, how we communicate with friends, Mrs. or Miss, cell phone usage, writing letters, yes, communication, Halloween, trick or treating, dating again, greeting, food prep, lunch or dinner with family, holidays with family, values, respect for your elders, food, communication, dance, saludos. Students need to be aware that we also go through these changes in culture. It's not, just part of the lesson. It's part of our life as well. So we talk about old culture versus real culture. So there's a big difference between naming cultural behaviors and understanding cultural behaviors. There's a difference. See? So, as I said before, people in X country eat this. People in Y country greet like that. These statements will help you to explain the surface, okay? But will hide the real meaning. We're not helping our students understand the behaviors. We're just informing people in Colombia it's arepas. People in Colombia kiss on the cheek and they live with that. Oh, wow, we learned so much culture, but we never talk about why. We never understood why we eat arepa and why we kiss on the cheek when we greet men, women. Why people in Argentina will, if it's men or women, they will kiss. So it is very important. Real culture asks deeper questions. When does this happen and why? Who does it? How does it feel? What does it symbolize? You know, I am always it's very interesting to me that people in the United States talk about texture when it comes about food. So the texture is like this. I don't like the texture. I like the texture. So we need to talk about how it feels. So the old way, Mexicans eat spicy food. Colombians greet with a kiss. Peruvians eat cuy. But to make this real, we need to ask ourselves, what is the context? What is the purpose? Is this part of a celebration? Is this part of the religion? What is the historical reason why they do this? And what are the emotions that people, experience when they do these things in their cultures? Okay? So once again, talking about the Reportero series, there is an activity here about some kids or some people, young people who migrated to Panama. And they are sharing things that they saw in Panama that they probably have never seen back in their countries. So, giving students perspective, like the perspective that Reporteros Tres is giving, it's very important. And I don't find this in many textbooks. And to be honest with you, this is the first time that I see this kind of example. So at least it makes the student think, okay, what other people are experiencing from other cultures when they get exposed to other cultures. Okay, so there's a micro activity here. Um, we need to rewrite a static statement into a dynamic one. So, because this is one of the easiest shifts that we can make when we write a cultural statement. Instead of they do or they eat, let's try this practice reflects. So in blank, this food reflects, okay? What is this practice invite empathy. We cannot be empathetic if we don't understand the other, or if we don't understand the behavior, or if we don't understand the action. That's the only way to be empathetic. So that's why it's so important to reflect on everything. Okay, fine. They eat tacos in Mexico, they eat arepas in Colombia. But why? So, have we shared with our students that according to the Mayas, the Mayan, uh, people were made of corn? Everything was corn in their mythology, in their understanding of the world. So, that is a reason why corn tacos are so important, and the food corn based is so important because it's part of their world. Okay? So we need to do a little research and take a look why they do this or why they do that. I'm going to share with you an explanation of this activity that I put together for you. This is an open Word document that you can work with. It's a teacher guide going from static to dynamic statements. Okay? So the activity is to rewrite a static statement into a dynamic one, to help students expand basic sentences into clear, richer, analytical statements that include cultural meaning and interpretation. Okay? Here's an explanation on how to do it, how to teach it step by step. And I hope that this helps. When you have time, you can go ahead and take a look how to scaffold for your students, how to differentiate, how to do it with heritage learners because they come from different places. So there are different topics. Food and traditions. They eat arepas. Okay, let's change that to in Colombia and Venezuela, arepas reflect family identity and daily life. They drink mate. In Argentina and Uruguay, sharing mate represents trust and community. They celebrate with fireworks. In many Latin American countries, fireworks express joy and mark important rituals. So I have examples here: identity and clothing, daily life and geography. They take a siesta. In parts of Spain, the siesta reflects cultural adaptation to afternoon heat. So these things we need to take the time to share and make sure that our students understand where things come from. Okay, so I'm gonna share in the chat the link to this guide for you guys to move to rewrite statements, to go from the static to the dynamic one. And I'm gonna put it to the whole group, todos, and here we go. Okay, my advice is, guys, please open that document right now in your browser and leave it there. And at the end of the webinar, you can access it because you cannot copy and paste from here. All right? All right, let's keep moving. So that's an interesting microactivity. So right now in the chat, please rewrite one cultural fact in the chat. Make it meaningful. But you know what? Let's skip this one because you're gonna be taking a look at different examples when you read the guide that I put together for you. Okay, number 2, section 2, from multicultural to intercultural. Okay, so what is the difference between multicultural and intercultural? So let's think. In a multicultural environment, groups exist near each other, but they rarely, in very rare occasions, interact. Let's think about cities like Chicago, where you have Mexican group, Poland group, Chinese group. I mean, you have different cultures. So we can be talking about a city that is pretty multicultural. We cannot count visiting Chinatown and going to eat Chinese food as an interaction with our Chinese friends, okay? We cannot count going to the Mexican neighborhood, El Barrio Mexicano, to eat tacos and say, today I interacted with Mexican people. Because we're making a mistake. It's kind of like when we suggest to parents to take the kids to a Mexican restaurant so they can interact with the waitress or waiter. And what's the interaction? Uh, Quiero enchiladas, por favor. Okay, let's be real. That's not a real interactions. Okay, so in a multicultural society, students stay with their own circles because this also happens at school. You know, schools are microcosmos, so there are different cultures at school, and they interact in their own little circles. The differences remain unchallenged, and assumptions remain unexamined. There's a lot of assumptions about the other. Okay, so that's multicultural. See, so many cultures present, but no interaction, little empathy, of course, because we don't care about knowing the other person or the other group, and reinforced separation. We like to say that we're multicultural. That sounds so cool. But in reality, this is what being multicultural means. We need to think about something different. We need to think about interculturality. Okay? So, what is intercultural? Intercultural environments are kind of like opposite of what we just saw because intercultural environments encourage interaction, they encourage curiosity, and they share growth. In an intercultural classroom, our students influence one another. Everyone is important. I know I can learn from the kid next to me, even if we are not best friends. In an intercultural society, group, environment, we ask questions, we compare experiences, and we adjust our perspectives. So this is what being in cultural intercultural means: interaction, curiosity, mutual influence, and share understanding. This is where culture stops being something that they study to become something that they experience. Okay? So let's move to interculturality. Talking about interculturality and Reporteros 3, I saw a great example here. Look, this book talks about personas refugiadas y migrantes. We listen to each other. We share our experiences. Llevan consigo pocas pertenencias, pero muchos sueños y ganas de salir adelante. They take with them very few belongings, but many dreams and the hope to just have a better future. Get to know each other. See? So this is quite important, and I really like this human side of this program, Reporteros. In the chat, tell me, does your school environment feel more multicultural or intercultural? Type M for multicultural, type I for intercultural. Okay, 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 okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh. Gracias, Patricia. She says, intercultural in my classroom. Um, in my school, it feels very multicultural, where it's probably more important to have kids representing different races than making an effort to help them getting to know each other. And I know this happens a lot in many places. So we have uh, work to do on this. So why it matters, right? Because we shift from they do X to why do we each do what we do. So the shift from multicultural to intercultural transforms learning. It moves students from memorizing details to interpreting people and what's going to help them when they go visiting the target language country. A bunch of things that they have memorized, like a trivia contest, or the ability, the skill to interpret people and understand why people behaves this way. So we move from comparison to connection. And one of the things that you said at the beginning of the webinar was that, the cultural change, that communication has changed. Okay, here we are. We move from comparison to connection, from we versus to us. Okay, so that's why it's so important to reflect and to think about multicultural versus intercultural, because we want connections. So reflect about this question. You don't have to write. Which shift do your students need most? Connection, curiosity, or empathy? Just think about it for 1 second. Think about your students. Okay, great. Just reflecting a little bit, right? All right, perfect. So we have an example here that is called breakfast and backstories. Why? Because food tells stories. Food is not just nourishment, okay? Breakfast reveals things like rhythm, climate, family habits, economic reality, and emotional comfort. Ask your students what they eat for breakfast. Some students are going to say Pop Tart. Some others are going to say, I had pancakes. Some others are going to say, I had cereal. Each one of those answers is telling you something. It's telling you a story about not just what they found in the kitchen or in the fridge. It's telling you about probably their economical reality and also emotional comfort. And so many of our kids eat for emotional comfort. They're very stressed out. So they choose foods that will make them feel better. See? In Colombia, we have a dish that is called calentado. Oh my gosh. Talking about emotional food. Calentado. Okay, I need to go back. The most common dinner in Colombia is carne, meat. Is usually fried or steamed carne. Papa, potato. It can be fried or it can be steamed potato. Arroz, rice, white rice, and plátano, plantain. That's the most common dinner in Colombia. And of course, we get used to make this dinner every day. And sometimes we have leftovers. And there's nothing better for us for breakfast like calentado. Calentado means kind of like something that has been rewarmed, like leftovers, okay? But caliente means warm. So that calentado brings us so many, emotional and well-being feelings, okay? But it's very interesting because has become very popular among people in general. But in the past, it was related to poor people who didn't have money to get the things that you usually eat for breakfast. So they will save a little bit from the dinner the day before, and they will eat calentado. Now you can go even to fancy restaurants and they sell you very expensive calentado. So a Peruvian camote reflects Andean agriculture. The Colombian calentado reflects warmth and tradition. The Mexican chilaquiles is a signal of celebration and also comfort. And then we can connect those things, the calentado, the camote, and the chilaquiles, to the Pop Tart. Okay? So suddenly, students realize that their daily choices also express culture. Why do you choose Pop Tart? Okay. Uh, they can say, well, I just like it. I just like how it feels in the morning. Okay. Is expressing culture. This is what we eat at home. This is part of the culture. So when they think about what other people eat for breakfast, this is telling them a story. It's not just the food. Okay? All right. So let's move to number 3. Intercultural activities students love. Section 3. So we're going to start with the activity menu. So these 4 activities that I'm going to present transform culture into an experience, as we have talked about this whole time. They can work at any level and focus on human behaviors that your students already recognize. So we don't need to teach them about these human behaviors, okay? So we're going to talk about greetings, snacks, influencers, and assumptions, all right? So it is called the activity menu. 4 ready-to-use activities. Hello, my many greetings. Snack wrap, arepa versus Pop-Tart. Influencer, culture lab, and stereotype detector wall. And I have created a guide for each one of these activities for you guys to take a look later. Don't forget to save it in your browser. Okay, so these activities. Oh, I repeated this slide. I'm sorry. Here we go. So the first one, hello, my many greetings. Okay, so greetings are a master class in pragmatics. Okay, greetings show us many things through the tone of voice that we use when we greet. One thing is to say good morning. One thing is to say good morning through the distance. One thing is good morning. It's so good that you're far from me, no? Oh, hey, good morning, and giving a hug. Familiarity. Greetings express warmth, age, respect. So, greetings are quite the important thing when we talk about cultures. So, students love matching greetings from to countries, but they love even more acting out how they're used. Okay? This is where language and culture merge into real communication. So, if we go to the guide that I have prepared for you, we can see this. So, hello, my name, many greetings. Okay? The goal to help students understand the greetings in Spanish or target language vary depending on tone, distance, age, warmth, and relationship. Pragmatic awareness develops more authentic communication. Okay? So the concepts tone, distance, age, warmth, and they're going to match a greeting from a country or a region, and how to teach this step discuss tone and region. This is used in Colombia and Central America among neighbors, storekeepers. You can show variations. Hola, which is more neutral. Hola, warm, informal. Hola, buenos días, respectful. Holita, affectionate and playful. And if we share this with our students, what happens? And pragmatic refers to the appropriate uses of the language in appropriate situations. So this is going to help with that part of pragmatic in language teaching. So I'm going to share in the chat the activity. Please, again, save it on your browser so you can take a look later. Yes, the examples are in Spanish, but the explanation is in English, so everyone can understand what I'm trying to say here. So remember this. Greetings are connected to the pragmatics of the language. Pragmatic is how do we use the language in the correct situation, okay? All right, so greeting examples. Each greeting carries an emotion. ¿Qué más pues? In Colombia we say, which feels friendly and relaxed. Pura vida in Costa Rica, which reflects optimism for life. ¿Qué onda? Feels youthful and playful in Mexico. Buenas feels simple and rural in Argentina or Spain. And todo bien feels calm and very Caribbean. Okay? So students, when we bring this to our classes, these different kind of greetings, they immediately sense the personality behind each phrase. Because you are also how you use your language, right? Okay, friends. Type your favorite target language greeting, just the greeting in the chat. What is your favorite target language greeting? Bueno, I'm reading. ¿Qué lo que hay? Okay, here we go. I'm going to struggle with other languages. Let's see. ¿Qué bola? Okay. El ombligo de Wednesday, el ombligo de la semana en español. Okay. ¿Qué es lo que hay? ¿Qué es lo que hay? Buenas. Question tal. Tac. Buenas. ¿Qué hay? ¿Cómo vas? ¿Qué onda? Buenas. Tanto tiempo sin verte. Monsu. Español. Salud. Okay. Ya, Greek. Okay. Hello. All right. Sometimes there are students who take 4 levels of the language, and the only greeting they have to work with is hola, hola. The same thing happens to the answers to a greeting, see? Or to the answer to when someone says gracias, thank you. Hmm? Most of us teach de nada, but you have con gusto, no hay por dónde. And this happens in different languages. So pragmatics is also very important here. Some people are saying that they didn't get the link for the last activity. If that's the case, probably I by accident, you know, did the same link for the first activity. At the end of the webinar, I'm gonna give you my email. Please feel free to email me, and I will send you all in order all the activities. So don't worry. The next activity, number 2, snack swap. So for the snack swap, um, uh, we say that snacks are like tiny autobiographies. Okay. Each snack also tells a story. And again, snack swap, arepa versus Pop Tart. Okay. So this activity here, let's see. No, but you know what? It's weird that the other, okay, link didn't work. Okay. So again, this is the description of the activity, the key components. When we talk about snacks, we talk about sweet versus salty. That's saying something. We talk about the emotional value. We talk about identity. We compare, we make things dynamic just by bringing little snacks to the classroom from different countries and comparing with their own um, snacks. So the teacher modeling language, what cultural value is hidden in this routine? What does the preparation style show about family life? Why is one snack social and the other one individual? Some snacks are social, but some others are individual. See? So we have some examples here comparing when is eaten, the arepa or the Pop Tart, who prepares it, sweets versus salty. Okay, I'm gonna copy the link. Um, I'm gonna do it from here. Probably will work better. Copiar dirección de enlace, and I'm gonna put it in the chat para todos right now. Okay, there you go. This should work. Can someone tell me if it worked, please? I believe the last one didn't work. Okay, perfect. It didn't work because I took it from the document. So my apologies, but I'm gonna share it right now. I'm gonna share the previous one. If I can go back here, let's see. Let's see if I can go back. Okay, greetings. I'm gonna take the link from here. Okay, it should work now, guys. My apologies. Okay, so this is the activity and the teacher guide for the greetings. So, para todos, here we go. Okay, please let me know if it's working right now. That activity number 1. Yup. Okay. Yup. Perfecto. Okay, so let's keep moving. Let's go to number 3. Okay, so we talk about greetings and we talk about snack swap, the arepa versus the Pop Tart. And this is included in that guide. If you moved abroad tomorrow, what food will you miss the most? In the chat, please. If you moved abroad tomorrow, what food would you miss the most? Arroz. Okay. Arepas. Okay, here we go. Okay. Abroad, let's just say to a country that, is not part of your culture. Okay. Oh, wow. Look at this. Oh my God. You talk about food and everyone participates. What is this? Okay, we have quinoa. Sí, por supuesto. La salsa de aguacate de mi papá. Bagels. Bagels. Empanadas. Seco de pollo. Tostones. Arroz a la milanesa. Lomo saltado. ¡Ah! Chicos, hoy comí lomo saltado. No me resistí. Es mi plato favorito de comida peruana. Buñuelos. Arroz milanesa. Seco de pollo. Wieners. Bagels, quinoa. Are you hungry now? Okay. Snacks are a little bit of our own story. Now, activity number 3, the influencer culture lab. So, the influencer culture lab talks about, well, what happened with influencers is that they are the ones who give our students access to modern culture. So they are, connecting our students to modern culture. And the thing is that our students are not being exposed to the museum version. They have the influencer version. So they see many things. They can see in an influencer, they can see humor, they can see pressure, they can see activism, they can see beauty standards, they can see struggles with mental health. I know that not all the influencers are positive roles models, but at least they're talking things that are true to today's youth. So the students suddenly realize that their lives look like mine. So when the students stay until 10, 11, 12 at night watching little videos on TikTok, they are actually thinking about themselves. And also, they can realize that these influencers are different in important ways. So, their lives look like my life, and they are different in important ways. That's intercultural gold that we need to address in our classes. What are the influencers, especially those who have millions of followers? What are they talking about in the countries of the target language? I'll give you an example. In Colombia, the influencers that are most popular right now, because this switches, remember that we talk about dynamics of culture, are the influencers who do something for to help people in in problems, in people who's struggling. So there's this guy, his name is Camilo Cifuentes, and he likes to work with people who sells informally food on the streets. Don't think about the food trucks in America, because food trucks are fancy compared to what I'm saying. Okay, so it's just someone selling black coffee, not Starbucks, of course, on the street. Someone selling empanadas, someone selling little pastelitos on the street, struggling because they live from selling those things. So Camilo Cifuentes goes and talks to them, and he goes and orders, okay, please give me 250 empanadas today. And they look at him like, 250? Yes, 250. "Ah, I don't have 250 empanadas. No worries, I can wait. Yo afán no tengo, he says always, which means I'm not in any hurry. Can I help you? And then he helps these people, and he stays with them hours making the empanadas. And then when he's gonna pay them, he takes his phone and says, okay, 200 empanadas times 300 pesos. So 200 empanadas times 300 pesos is, let's just say, 60,000 pesos. But he says, oh, the phone is saying that this is 2 million pesos. And they're like, what? 2 million pesos? No, 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 it's 60,000 pesos. No, no, my phone says that it's 2 million pesos. Here you go. Wow. For us, Colombians, that's so freaking moving, because there's so much need in my country. There's so many people having to go on the streets for informal jobs, but they are not jobs. That this moves us. So obviously, if we don't show this to our students, they are probably never going to encounter these stories, because the algorithm is just going to give them what they see every day. So we need to take a moment to research a little bit on this. So my advice is, go to Google and type five most famous influencers in your target language country. And then go and take a look. Obviously, you know the language, you're going to understand. And then see if this is something that you want to bring to the classroom. Okay, it's almost 7, so I'm going to move faster. Okay, my friends? So this is part of modern culture as well. Okay, the influencers. Influencers matter. And obviously, the reporteros, they thought about that. They thought about redes sociales, what you like, what you don't like. And this can start that conversation about influencers. And they are more open to look at different things. This is in Reporteros 3, página 120. Okay? Just to think, have you ever shown a target language influencer? Yes or no? Okay, just think. Okay? I have in my classes. I love showing this girl. She speaks so fast. but she's always like questioning her parents, okay? But in a nice way. I mean, not very nice, but in a critical, decent way. The last activity, the stereotype detector. So, stereotypes dissolve in our classrooms when the students analyze them with bring stereotypes to make them feel guilty, that doesn't work. I have done it, unfortunately, in the past. And I realized that we need to awake their curiosity. Okay? So they learn how to replace assumptions with exploration because that's curiosity. You're curious, you explore. A skill they will use far beyond our classroom. So when they grow up and then when they are part of our society, instead of assuming something about the other people, they want to, you know, they want to explore and understand. Okay? My daughter is coming to say hi to me. Hi, belleza hermosa. Okay. I'm almost done. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, she has to do this always. Okay. All right. So I have prepared for you a guide also that you can take a look and see how this works. And how can we do this in our instruction? Okay, my friends, I'm picking up the pace here. So, curiosity over judgment. Okay, from stereotypes to inquiry. We need to work on this. We need to build empathy and we need to build critical thinking in our classes, like my friend, the cat here. Think about this. Name a stereotype your students repeat about the target language culture. Do you have these conversations? Or you rather not talk about these things because you don't want to, these are conversations that we must have in our classes. See, what stereotypes have you heard about people in Colombia or people in Mexico? Okay, let's talk about this. Let's dig in. And humanizing culture through stories and empathy. So, teacher reflection, rate from 1 to 5. I start culture with students' lives. I use modern, authentic voices. I teach tone and pragmatics. I check for stereotypes. I build culture into interaction, not just worksheets. Okay? Intercultural classrooms are built only by intentional teachers who take care of these 5 items. All right? So, it is also important that you share your story, okay? But not necessarily your intimate story, Oh, well, yesterday I had a fight with my wife and I'm so tired because I had to sleep in the couch. No, 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 no. Okay? Let's share with the students our personal human story because students will connect deeply when we share our own cultural journeys. And sometimes these journeys are humorous, because some things happen to us in context that we didn't understand that well at some point. We talk about our mistakes, the surprises, the joys, the identity shifts. So let's share that with your students because they see that when they experience these mistakes and these things, it's pretty normal. And remember, you're not just the teacher on the language. You're not just a Spanish teacher, a German teacher, a French teacher. You are a living proof of what intercultural growth looks like because you're an empathetic person and you understand everything we have talked about here. And you're an intercultural individual. Culture needs to become human in order to really be important in our classes. Just to reflect, share one cultural moment that changed you. One cultural moment that changed you. I have so many examples of my life here as an immigrant in the United States. Okay. Identity and culture. Culture is expressed through choices, values, humor, routines, stress responses, love languages. And what students love the most is not information about the country, it's information of describing the city where my brother lives. We call him and we ask him, "Where are you right now?" And I describe to them, the experiences my brother is having in this city. That matters the most. They care better. They care the most. Okay. Um, they want to know how we love, how we cope with stress, how we build friendships. One thing, like in Colombia, is so different to friendships in the United States is that we say no one does anything by themselves. If you need to go to the bank, if you need to go to do some chasing, you always, in Colombia, you always call a friend. Hey, I need to go to the doctor. Will you come with me? And what happened to me in the States, it has been quite different because everyone does their own thing, right? Like the individualism is expressed in other ways. So, modern realities. Maria Acaso is a Spanish teacher. She is actually an art teacher in Spain who likes to reflect about education and about how we approach things in our classrooms and about culture. So Maria says that we learn through narratives. This means that if our class should be a narration, one day is connected to the other day, and the other day is connected to the other day, like in a book chapter. And one term is connected to the other term, like one chapter from a fictional book, a narration. When we tell stories, when we share these things that we have talked about today, that becomes a narration, and the students enjoy, they get curious, and they get also emotions that they have never experienced. But this doesn't happen through lists of facts, right? And something also very important that Maria says is that students construct their own meaning of culture, which is very important. Um, she says, no two students learn the same culture. We see things in different lights according to our own experiences. Okay? So, from passive to creative, from single truth to multiple voices, listening to each other. Okay? So, teach culture as a fiction, as a story, as a representation, as a performance, art. Bring all these things to the classroom, and they will understand better the cultures that we're trying to bring to our instruction. We're not going to bring just information or truth. This is what happens, but we're going to bring perspective to our classes. Okay? All right. So, your intercultural next steps to finalize here, to finish. So, what are your intercultural next steps? So, this is kind of like a line action plan. Okay. Um, Transformation really doesn't require a new curriculum. Transformation requires a new question, and that's quite different. So, write your level, write your unit, and write one intercultural question the way we have presented today. That small intentional choice will create a very different learning environment. One intercultural question I will ask this week is, that's your action plan, my friends. Okay. Or we have the 48-hour challenge. Try one. Replace a culture fact for a culture story. Ask one intercultural question. Add one target language influencer example. Rewrite one stereotype. Try one activity from today. It's my 48 our challenge. Okay. All right, my friends. Which challenge will you take from this? Okay, just make sure that you take at least one. All right. My final message to you guys this evening is that um, we don't teach culture. Hmm? That we must humanize it, we must live it, we must share it. I remember a few years ago, I did a presentation for the AATSP conference. We were in Puerto Rico, and the name of my presentation is Do Not Teach Culture. And some teachers got offended because I said do not teach culture. But I was kind of like starting to talk about this that I have been working on for a few years that it's looking better. Okay. Remember that when students see themselves and discover others with empathy, culture becomes fun, meaningful, and unforgettable. Culture becomes personal. All right. All right. Give me one word describing how you feel leaving today's session. I want to see those answers. Give me one word describing how you feel leaving today's session. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Oh, qué bonito. Thank you. Inspired, agradecida, motivada, happy, motivada, agradecida, inspirada, confident, inspired, excited, inspired, inspirada, learning, agradecida, uplifted, excited, confident, excited, educated, inspired, great. Thank you. Proud. I love that one. Proud. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your feedback. I really appreciate it. Once again, my name is Diego Ojeda. I'm a Spanish teacher in Louisville, Kentucky. And we're always here with our friends at Clayton Languages, bringing you topics that are important to our classes and trying to refer to them in an honest way. Let's follow each other via Instagram. My Instagram is sr_ojeda. That's my email and that's my blog where you can see a lot of different activities, some in Spanish, some in English. I would like to invite you for another webinar next week on Tuesday. Um, I'm going to give a webinar on AP Spanish classes. Okay, so follow me on social media and you can get the registration link. So, Sabrina, we are done.
Perfect, Diego. Thank you so much. And we had a great engagement, clearly, so thank you very much for that. At the moment, we don't have any questions. We're going to give you a couple minutes in case you want to ask anything. And in the meantime, I'm just going to do a couple announcements. So, first of all, yes, you will receive the material. So, we will send you the PowerPoint presentation and the recording. So, you should be able to get that in about a week. And also, for those of you who were requesting the certificate of attendance, I'm going to put that link in there right now again. Remember that you just need to fill that out and you will receive the certificate immediately. And while we wait, just to give a couple announcements. Uh, so, yes, I just put the certificate, so you can complete it now. We would also really appreciate your feedback. So, I'm going to put that link in here as well. There we go. So, yes, it only takes like about a minute and it helps us to continue improving and designing sessions that support your needs. Would also really, so yes, take that, just fill it out if you can. If you like to explore the materials that Diego used today, so Reporteros and any others in the series, because we have also a version in German, we have a version in French as well, and we're preparing a version in Italian, you can request a sample on this other link in here. And yeah, you can take a closer look. We will give you that very soon. And before I do the final wrapping up, we actually have a question right now.
Okay.
So, Diego, how do we learn in depth cultural information, the multiple Spanish countries, when we don't know a lot about them?
The multiple what?
The multiple Spanish countries. So how can we learn in depth about the different Spanish countries and their cultures when we don't know a lot about them?
Yeah, we need to do the research. Um, what I like about the Reporteros series is that already brings a lot of that information that students get very surprised about. You know, it's not your regular type of information that every textbook brings, but they have tried to bring things that are real, authentic, and current. So I'll start there because you don't just get information, but you also get the meaningful activity. I will refrain from using ChatGPT for this kind of research because it's not that accurate. But I also will encourage you to bring readings to your classes and to always try to choose authors who are native of the language they're writing on because they're going to be sharing in their readings and in their stories key cultural information that you won't see easily somewhere else. Okay.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Let's see. There are no more questions in the meantime. I'm gonna still
All
give
right.
1 minute or two. In any case, if anyone comes up with any question after we close the webinar, remember that
They
you can
can email me too.
exactly. So
Yeah.
you can email Diego, first of
Hmm.
all. You can also send us an email at marketing@wl.com. We can also
Hmm.
forward those questions to Diego.
Hmm.
Also, so yeah, you can either send Diego an email, you can send us an email. Also, I know some of you are asking about the French or the German version of Reporteros, so I'm gonna put the link in the chat as well because we're gonna need a bit of additional information. So you just need to fill that out, put the details that you will see in there, and you will receive it. And if by any chance you're having any issues with the link, you can just send us an email to marketing or to Diego, and he will forward that to us, and we
Oop.
will share you the
Okay.
link or the sample.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
Yes.
Well, Sabrina, thank you so much for helping today and every time.
Thank you, Diego. And on behalf of Clever Languages, I want to thank you all for joining us today.
Me
And
too.
a very huge thank you as well for Central States for collaborating with us on this event. As Diego said, we hope to see you again next Tuesday. And to everyone here, thank you for the work that you do every single day to bring languages, cultures, and curiosity into your classrooms. We look forward to seeing you at future webinars, and we hope you all have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye. Adios.
Bye. Thank you.